Welcome back, basketball fans, to another massive update that has the entire Philippine basketball community buzzing with absolute electricity. If you've been anywhere near social media, basketball forums, or sports news outlets over the past few days, you have undoubtedly seen the headlines, the rumors, and the explosive debates. The headline that is stopping everyone in their tracks is nothing short of a basketball earthquake. Houston Rockets star and Filipino-American sensation Jalen Green is reportedly at the center of a massive push to be recognized and approved as a local player for Gilas Pilipinas. Yes, you heard that correctly. We are talking about the possibility of an NBA franchise cornerstone, a phenomenal scorer, and a global basketball icon suiting up for the Philippine national team, not as a naturalized player, but as a fully recognized local. To say that this news is breaking the internet would be a massive understatement. For years, the dream of seeing a player of Jaylen Green's caliber wearing the blue and gold of the Philippines has felt like exactly that, a dream. Even a fantasy discussed in barbershops, debated in online comment sections, and wished for by millions of the most passionate basketball fans on the entire planet. But today, we are diving deep into the possibility, the opportunity, and the monumental implications of what happens if Jalen Green is truly unlocked for Gilas Pilipinas. This is not just about adding a talented player to a roster. This is about a fundamental paradigm shift in international basketball. This is about taking a team that has already shown incredible heart resilience and tactical brilliance on the world stage and injecting it with a lethal dose of NBA-level athleticism and scoring power. Think about the magnitude of this opportunity. The Philippines is a nation where basketball is not just a sport. It is a religion. It is woven into the very cultural fabric of the country. From the makeshift hoops in the rural provinces to the gleaming, sold-out arenas in Metro Manila, the love for the game is unparalleled. When Gilas Pilipinas takes the floor, the entire nation stops to watch. Now, imagine adding Jalen Green, a player whose mother traces her roots to Ilocos Sur, to that equation. Imagine the absolute roar of the crowd. But beyond the emotion and immense national pride, there's a massive basketball reality we need to unpack. What does this mean for the current roster? What does this mean for the naturalized player spot? And most importantly, what does this mean for the mastermind pacing the sidelines? That brings us to the second and perhaps most crucial part of this massive development. Coach Tim Dadama. If Jalen Green is approved as a local, the title of this video says it perfectly. Coach Tim's choices just multiply exponentially. Coach Tim Dadama, the winningest coach in Philippine Basketball Association history, the architect of the recent Gilas resurgence, would suddenly find himself holding the keys to the most potent offensive weapon the Philippines has ever seen. The tactical doors that swing open are mind-boggling. We're going to break down exactly how Jalen Green fits into Coach Tim Dadama's heavily disciplined, highly structured, and incredibly effective offensive and defensive systems. We're going to look at the ripple effects this has on the rest of the Asian basketball landscape. We will examine the absolute nightmare this creates for opposing coaches who already struggle to contain the current Gilas lineup. This is a monumental topic, and we are not leaving a single stone unturned today. We're going to look at the FIBA eligibility rules, the historical context of Filipino-American players trying to represent the motherland, the specific skills Jalen Green brings to the international game, and the incredible, highly coveted flexibility it gives the Gilas coaching staff. Whether you are a die-hard Gilas supporter, an NBA fan tracking Jalen Green's career, or a student of the international game, you are going to want to stick around for every single second of this analysis. We are going deep. We are breaking down the XS and OS. We are looking at the politics, the passion, and the pure, unadulterated potential of Jalen Green in a Gilas Pilipinas jersey. So, sit back, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and let us dive straight into the heart of the biggest basketball story of the year. Let us dissect the Jalen Green Gilas Pilipinas opportunity and the incredible choices now potentially facing Coach Tim Dadama. To truly understand the gravity of the situation, we first have to take a step back and look at the massive bureaucratic hurdle that has haunted Philippine basketball for over a decade. I am talking, of course, about the infamous FIBA Article 3.2.1, widely known in basketball circles as the Hagop Rule. For those who might be new to the intricacies of international basketball eligibility, FIBA dictates that a player holding dual nationality must have acquired the passport of the country they wish to represent before their 16th birthday to be considered a local player. If they acquire that passport after turning 16, they can only represent that country as a naturalized player. And here's the kicker. Every national team is strictly limited to only one naturalized player on their roster per tournament. This rule has been the ultimate thorn in the side of the Samahang basketball in Pilipinas. The Philippines has a massive diaspora. There are millions of Filipinos living abroad, and naturally, that means there are incredibly talented basketball players of Filipino descent born in the United States, Europe, and Australia. Players like Jordan Clarkson, who we all know had to go through a massive, years-long saga just to be cleared to play, and even then, he is classified as a naturalized player. The heartbreak of the Hagop rule is that it penalizes players for bureaucratic delays, or simply for not knowing their future international basketball intentions when they were just 15 years old. Now enter Jaylen Green. Jaylen is fiercely proud of his Filipino heritage. He has visited the country multiple times. He has held camps. He is connected with the fans, and he understands the weight of the Filipino basketball culture. But Jaylen grew up in the United States. He became a high school phenomenon in California. He was navigating the intense pressure of being a top-tier NBA prospect. Securing a Philippine passport before his 16th birthday was not the immediate priority for his family at that specific time. Because of this, under the strict letter of the FIBA law, Jaylen Green would technically fall into the naturalized player category, putting him in direct competition with beloved figures like Justin Brownlee or Ange Kwame for that single, highly coveted roster spot. But this is where the current news and rumors explode into relevance. The push to get Jaylen Green approved as a local player represents a potential paradigm shift. If the Basketball Federation, through tireless lobbying, legal arguments, or potential FIBA rule revisions, manages to secure local status for Green, the entire landscape of international basketball changes overnight. Why? Because the distinction between a local player and a naturalized player is everything. If Jaylen Green is a local, it means Gilas Pilipinas does not have to choose between him and Justin Brownlee. Let that sink in for a moment. Imagine a starting lineup where you have the sheer, unstoppable scoring force of Jaylen Green sharing the floor with the unparalleled basketball IQ, clutch shot-making, and immense heart of Justin Brownlee. You are combining an NBA franchise shooting guard with the ultimate international basketball Swiss Army knife. If Jaylen is a local, the Philippines gets to keep its naturalized slot for a dominant, rim-protecting big man if they choose to, or they retain Brownlee to run the offense. The flexibility is staggering. Let us transition into the mind of the man who would have to put this puzzle together. Coach Tim Cone. When the title of today's video says Coach Tim Choices, we have to deeply analyze what those choices actually are. Tim Cone is a master tactician. He is the ultimate student of the game, famous for his mastery of the triangle offense, and more recently, his adaptation of fluid, motion-based European-style sets that have revolutionized the Gilas attack. Coach Cone's system relies on ball movement, precise spacing, intelligent cutting, and above all, making the right read. He demands discipline. He demands unselfishness. At first glance, some critics might wonder how a volume scorer from the NBA fits into a heavily structured international system. Jaylen Green is known for his explosive first step, his high-flying athleticism, and his ability to create his own shot in isolation. The NBA is a league of spacing and individual brilliance. FIBA basketball is a game of tight spaces, physical defense, and collective execution. Can Jaylen Green adapt? The answer, if you look closely at his development, is a resounding yes. Under the right coaching, Jaylen Green is much more than just an isolation scorer. He is a willing passer when the defense collapses on him. His gravity on the court is immense. In Coach Tim Cone's system, Jaylen Green would not need to play hero ball every single possession. Instead, his mere presence on the floor would completely warp the opposing team's defense. If Jaylen Green comes off a pin-down screen in a Tim Cone set, the defense has to send two defenders. They have to respect his shooting range and his ability to attack the rim. When those two defenders commit to Jaylen, what happens? A massive passing lane opens up. Suddenly, Kai Sato has a clear path to the rim. Suddenly, Dwight Ramos is wide open in the corner for a three-pointer. Justin Brownlee finds himself operating in single coverage, which is practically an automatic bucket. Coach Tim's choices multiply because Jalen Green can be used in so many different ways. Need a bucket at the end of the shot clock when the offensive set breaks down? Give the ball to Jalen and let him create. Need a decoy to run the defense ragged? Send Jalen on a baseline cut and watch the entire opposing backcourt panic. Need to push the pace in transition? Jaylen Green is one of the fastest players end-to-end in the world. Coach Cohn would have the ultimate luxury, a player who can execute the system perfectly, but who also possesses the raw, overwhelming talent to bail the team out when the system fails. Furthermore, let's talk about the defensive end of the floor. International basketball is incredibly physical. Guards are allowed to hand check more freely. The paint is packed because there is no defensive 3-second violation, and fighting through screens is a brutal task. Jaylen Green has the length, the quickness, and the lateral mobility to be a truly disruptive defender in the FIBA game. Coach Cohn demands defensive excellence. He built his legacy on teams that lock down their opponents. Putting Jaylen Green into a defensive scheme alongside long, switchable wings like Chris Newsom and Dwight Ramos creates a perimeter defense that can suffocate opposing guards. We also have to consider the psychological impact of this move. When Gilas Pilipinas steps onto the floor against Asian powerhouses like Australia, Japan, or Lebanon, there's always a battle for psychological supremacy. Australia brings their physical, bruising style. Japan brings their elite shooting and speed. If the Philippines rolls out a lineup featuring an in-his-prime NBA superstar who is playing as a local, it sends a terrifying message across the continent. It announces that the Philippines is not just here to compete. They are here to dominate. Opposing teams will have to spend entirely new segments of their training camps specifically game planning for Jaylen Green. They will have to adjust their entire defensive philosophy. That level of disruption before the game even begins is a massive advantage for Coach Tim Cohn. And let's not forget the internal competition. Having Jaylen Green in the practice facility elevates everyone else. The local PBA stars, the collegiate standouts, and the overseas professionals in the Gilas pool will have to raise their level of play to match his intensity and skill. Iron sharpens iron. When you practice against an NBA star every day, the game slows down when you finally face international competition. The standard of excellence within the Gilas program would reach unprecedented heights. However, we must also look at the challenges. Integrating a player of this magnitude is not without its hurdles. Chemistry is the most delicate element in international basketball. National teams only have a few weeks to prepare for major tournaments. They do not have an 82-game season to figure out rotations and build cohesion. Coach Tim Cohn would have a monumental task of ensuring that Jaylen Green's arrival does not disrupt the incredible brotherhood and chemistry that the current Gilas team has built. The current players have shed blood, sweat, and tears to qualify for major tournaments. They have won historic games. Jaylen Green would need to come in with humility, a willingness to learn the system, and a deep respect of the players who have held the fort down. Knowing Jalen's personality and his respect for the Filipino culture, there's every reason to believe he would embrace this role flawlessly, but is a dynamic the coaching staff must manage carefully. The Jaylen Green Gilas Philippines opportunity is the ultimate test of federation politics, coaching brilliance, and basketball evolution. It is about challenging the archaic rules of international basketball and fighting for the right of a heritage player to represent his motherland without restrictions. If this rumor becomes reality, if Jaylen Green is truly approved as a local, we are looking at the dawn of a golden era for Philippine basketball. The choices for Coach Tim Cohn would not just multiply. They would become infinite. He could play small ball with Jalen at the 3. He could play a massive lineup with Jalen at the point guard. The tactical permutations are a basketball purist's dream. As we wrap up this massive deep dive into the Jaylen Green Gilas Pilipinas situation, we need to take a collective breath and look at the big picture. We have spent this time analyzing the rumors, breaking down the rigid FIBA eligibility rules, projecting Jalen's fit into Coach Tim Cohn's masterful system, and imagining the absolute terror this would strike into the hearts of opposing international teams. But at the core of all this analysis, at the very heart of this entire discussion, is something much deeper than just basketball tactics or bureaucratic loopholes. It is about identity. It is about pride. It is about the unifying power of sports for a nation that breeds basketball. The story of Jaylen Green in the Philippines is a deeply emotional one for millions of fans. Here is a young man, born and raised in the United States, competing at the absolute highest level of the sport in the NBA, who continually looks back and acknowledges his roots. He flies across the world to visit. He engages with the youth. He wears his heritage proudly. For the Filipino fans, seeing him in a Gilas jersey would be the ultimate validation. It would be a powerful statement that no matter where you are born, no matter how far your journey takes you, you can always come home and fight for your flag. If this approval as a local player actually materializes, it changes the trajectory of Philippine basketball for the next decade. We are not just talking about winning a few extra games in the Asian qualifiers. We are talking about fundamentally altering the Philippines standing on the global stage. We are talking about pushing for deep runs in the FIBA World Cup. We are talking about legitimately challenging for a spot in the Olympic Games and making noise when we get there with a core of Dwight Ramos, Kai Sato, Carl Tamayo, AJ Edu, and the veteran leadership of Justin Brownlee or June Mar-Fajardo. Adding a local Jalen Green turns a highly competitive team into a legitimate international force. Coach Tim knows exactly what is at stake. When we talk about Coach Tim's choices, we are acknowledging the heavy burden he carries. He is tasked with blending immense talent with tactical discipline. He has to manage egos, manage expectations, and manage the hopes of an entire nation. But if there is one coach in the history of Asian basketball who is equipped to handle the addition of an NBA superstar and seamlessly weave him into a team-first concept, it is Tim Cone. His ability to connect with players, to earn their respect, and to demand excellence on the defensive end is exactly what is needed to make this dream scenario work perfectly. But as we sit here today, we must also remain grounded. We must acknowledge that the wheels of FIBA bureaucracy turn incredibly slowly. We must remember that Jaylen Green has his own personal career goals, including his stated desire to pursue opportunities with Team USA. The path to seeing Jaylen in a Gilas jersey is still filled with obstacles, legal arguments, and complex decisions. The rumors are exciting, the hype is real, and the potential is limitless. But until we see the official press release from the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas and FIBA, we are operating in the realm of the ultimate. What if? And honestly, that is what makes being a basketball fan so incredible. It is the debates. It is the projections. It is a shared hope that one day, everything will align perfectly. We will continue to monitor the situation with absolute dedication. We will track every quote, every rumor, and every subtle hint dropped by the Federation, Jaylen's camp, or Coach Tim Cone himself. I want to turn this over to you, the viewers. This channel thrives on your passion and your insights. I want you to flood the comments section below. Do you believe FIBA will eventually bend the Hagop rule and allow Jaylen Green to play as a local? If he does join the team, how do you see him fitting alongside Justin Brownlee and Kai Sato? And what is the very first play you would call for Jaylen Green if you were Coach Tim Cone? Let's get a massive debate going in the comments right now. If you enjoyed this incredibly detailed deep dive, if you appreciate the deep tactical breakdown, and the honest look at the realities of international basketball, please hit that like button. It helps push this video out to more basketball fans around the world. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. We are going to be covering the Gilas Pilipinas journey, the NBA season, and everything in between with this exact same level of detail and passion. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Keep supporting Gilas, keep the faith, and keep loving the beautiful game of basketball. We will see you all in the next highly anticipated breakdown. Take care and Laban Pilipinas.